I'm gonna tap it with this. There it is, 5.6. This video is probably a week late. So I've got some things going on at my house that's maybe going to interrupt some time out here. I've got a leak that we just found the other day, and we got to work on getting that fixed and going down that whole rabbit hole. So I apologize for the next couple weeks. I may not be able to get out here and work as much as I'd like to, because this is kind of a little bit of a mess, and it's definitely the priority. I don't want to have my house all torn apart and you know, be working on the cars. It's probably not the best idea, and I also don't really want to share the whole details of that with you, just because, well, this channel is more about the cars stuff than it is the house stuff. And anyway, I've said enough. Today I'm going to work on the Dakota. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm gonna try to do, you know, 30 minutes a day if I can, to get out here and get some stuff done. There's no excuse that I'm not making more progress on this truck, so that's what I'm gonna do today. In a minute here, I'm gonna get underneath there and I'm going to adjust the transmission crossmember, so it's all bolted in place, so I can get all the hardware in, because right now it's just a little off kilter. Not a big deal. I'm not going to show you guys that, but then I'm going to bolt the transmission down and get it mounted good. And then we are going to try to adjust the driveline angle, and I'm going to explain that here in just a second. But if you're kind of new to following along with what's going on, we just put this Ford Explorer 8.8 rear end in this truck, but right now it is currently only just bolted in place, eventually we're gonna have to weld these brackets down and make sure that, you know, they're locating the angle of the rear end correctly. But right now we just had it in place to kind of get it roughed in. What we found out, thanks to a little angle detector and stuff like that, is I'm gonna have to move the rear end up some, as far as tilting it up some, to make it an equal but opposite angle of the transmission. So that may not make a whole lot of sense for me, just kind of pointing at it. So let me try to explain what I mean here. A drive shaft does not work well when it is exactly straight. So if you have a rear end here, I'm sorry, a transmission here and a rear end here, if you have an extremely straight back and forth level drive shaft, it will work, but your U-joints actually do not get the lubrication. Alright, so there's that. My funny handwriting. If you have it to where it's at an extreme angle, where your drive shaft or your transmission, right, and your diff is here, is at an extreme angle, something like this, and you have your U-joints, when you come down like this, since things are not matching and in plane, it's going to be mad, and it's going to cause binding here. What is ideal for a leaf spring setup is you have equal but opposing angles. Let me try to draw that a little better. Equal but opposing angles. So let's pretend our transmission is there and our rear end is here. What we want is the drive shaft to be parallel to where it connects, and that way you lube the U-joint, and there's no vibration. To further explain this, let's kind of take another picture of this. This is the transmission, this is the differential. Currently in the Dakota, sitting like it is right now with the weight on the wheels, the transmission is at a downward angle, and I measured it from the end of the tail shaft, and it is negative downwards 5.3 degrees. With the differential, I measured from this side. I made a mistake there. Currently, since I measured it here on the rear of the transmission and the front of the differential is actually current at positive 1.3 degrees. Now, here's the kicker. We want this to be an equal but opposite degree, or equal but opposite measurement between the two, which means I'm not moving the trans, but I'm gonna have to move the front of this up another 4 degrees so that it'll then equal up 5.3 degrees. And when you do that, your drive shaft's happy. You can connect the two in a parallel format that makes it happy. And ideally, on a leaf spring setup like a Dakota, just like we have here, Caltracs, Dakota, the whole 9 yards, you actually want anywhere from 3 degrees on the trans, 3 degrees on the rear end. Remember, equal but opposite. And like, I think you can give or take a degree and a half on each side. So anywhere from 1.5 to 4.5 on each side. Ours is not going to measure that out because the front of the truck is higher than the rear because we lowered the rear. So if you're not confused yet, I'm going to confuse you some more. Eventually, this angle is going to change when we lower the front of the truck. So I'm not too concerned about the tail shaft on the transmission being at 5.3 degrees, because when we lower the truck, it's going to lower that angle hopefully to around 3 degrees is what we're hoping for. So long story short, I need this flange because that's where I'm measuring it, and I'll show you guys how we do that. I'm going to zero my measurement here. Stick it to there. 1.9 it shows right now, which is okay. I don't know if you guys can see that, but basically I need to move this. In fact, it's down. I need to move the front of this up. So we need to angle the rear end up to match the opposite angle on the tail shaft. I'm not sure if that made a whole lot of sense. I hope it does. This stuff is new to me as well. I'm learning as I go. But I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the cross member stuff, get it all mounted so I pull all, you know, all the weight down, all the angle out of it, remeasure, and then we're going to loosen up the U-bolts back here and try to jack the rear end up to where we can get it happy. So that's the plan. So let me get under there and get the trans done, and then we'll start the other process. just a little finessing here, and I got all the bolts in cross member, so everything's good. Transmission's bolted down, all the bolts and nuts are tight, and I did that because I wanted to make sure I had it at its final resting place. Now we're gonna measure it again, just to get where we're going to. This is my angle finder, and so I'm gonna use this. But before I do, one of the things you have to do is zero it. And you guys probably can't see the numbers on it, but right now I've got it on a flat surface and hit 0. Now when it's on a flat surface, 0. Now I'm gonna stick it to the back of the transmission to see where we're at. Now this is saying 5.7, so it's a little bit further down than it was previously, and I don't know if you guys can see that. Looks like it might be a little washed out, but I'm gonna do it again real quick just to make sure. All right, I zeroed it again, clear off that back piece right there, and there we go. I thought I had it a little off. That's more like it. This is the consistent value that I've been getting. So it means that this drive shaft is pointing 5.3 degrees down. So since this has been very consistent with this measurement, I am moving around a little bit. Yep, still 5.3. So I'm going to note this as my final resting point for the transmission. 5.3, 5.4, it changed. I'm still going with 5.3. All right, now I'll show you the second piece. Now I have not zeroed this out again because I'm still using the same plane that we used when we measured the transmission, but now we're going to stick it to our pinion, and you're looking at 2.0 up. So we are 3.3 degrees. We need to go up. That's literally what we have to do here. So I'm going to get to loosening all these bolts, all the U-bolts, not all the way off. I just want them loose so we can maneuver the rear end some. I'm also going to mark the rear end so I know it doesn't walk on me, and we're going to try to get that angle right before we tighten everything down. One thing I did not think about is I realized my caltracs, even though I just put them on for now, they were all the way down on the leaf spring, so I had to back them off. And what I did, I had some changes. So it brought the truck up a little bit, and actually I think it brought the truck down a little bit, and increased the transmission measurement to 5.6. And now we're at a 0.8 here on the differential. So now it's time for me to try to jack this thing up and see if I can get it to rotate. I have a bunch of markers everywhere. I have marked with some blue tape back and forth as far as horizontal movement, and I've also marked here, marked down here, so I can see if we're making any progress. So I've also loosened all the U-bolts. Let's get a jack under it and see what we can get done. Will it rotate? Look at that. It is rotating. Slowly, but it's rotating. That's awesome. Winding up a little bit. Now we're at 6.0, which is further than we need. And now we're at 5.7 with nothing on it. We are basically there. Holy cow. I wonder if I can tap it with a hammer. I'm going to tap it with this. No weight on it. There it is, 5.6. I'm going to, I think I'm going to run this dude in. 5.4 final setting. We're gonna roll with that. And that's it, guys. Let me make sure I pull this out of here. Yep, we're still at 5.4. Move to 5.3. I'm still okay with that, especially since it looks like it changes when you put some weight on it. And ideally, you're supposed to do this with me in the passenger seat. I can't do that by myself. But 5.6 now. Diff is 5.3. I think we're good. Woo, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna shut it down. It's been 100 degrees down here. I'm sure I look amazing. And 5.4 now. Man, that's perfect. I got the bolts tight. So tomorrow, if I get some time, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna throw a couple tack welds wherever I can. And then we're gonna have Tommy burn this dude in here, and we'll be good. Anything from there we can do with shims. So that's awesome. Awesome. I say that a lot, don't I? All right, let me go get cleaned up. I know this video is out a lot later than it usually is. However, I've been having a lot of fun. On Wednesday night, which was today's Saturday, so it's that 3 days ago, we had a nasty little storm come through and had like 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts, 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts, like not too far from us, and it caused some havoc. And while my backyard's already kind of been cleaned up, you can see the dead tree that already fell down. It broke my gate, but long story short, we've actually been without power until 11:15 this morning. So that's like 60 something hours without power. It's been a mess. We kind of went to the hotel for a couple days, a little over 2 nights, and we have an older dog that you guys see in the video, Kuda, and she wasn't doing well in the heat, and it's been 100 degrees here. So with all that said, yeah, I haven't had a chance to edit the video. So hopefully you guys understand. I'm sure you do, but I'm super happy this thing's in place. Nothing's moved that I know of. So I'm going to hopefully fire up the welder a little bit later this tomorrow or this evening, probably tomorrow, and I'll put some tacks on this, and then I'll see when Tommy can make it out, and we'll get this thing all welded up and get the purchase welded to the axle, and then I'm gonna go kind of buck wild on the axle and get it nice and pretty and clean, and we're gonna paint it and put it all back together and then start the reassembly process on the Dakota. A couple things I'd like to do before we really get cooking is I need to pressure wash the underside of the bed. I'm also going to do some cuts for a trap door for the fuel tank, because I'm still going to use this factory fuel tank, but I want to be able to get easy access to it. So I'll have an idea for that. And then I'm going to do the same thing underneath the cab. So I'm going to have to pull the motor and trans back out. It was all for mock-up anyway. I also have a set of headers I think I'm going to buy, long tubes that I think are going to work. I actually may buy those here before too long and throw them in before I get too far away, because that way I'll know if they work right away and we pull everything back out. So there's not much left other than just some of that welding to get the truck back together, which that's exciting. Also need a measure for a drive shaft, and I may do that before we get everything buttoned up. I don't know, we gotta think about that. But I got, anyway, got some cleaning to do. There's been some dude's been doing burnouts in this thing. I don't know who that guy would have been, but we're getting closer, and I've got a lot of front end stuff to it, and but I think we're gonna kind of get it mostly back together before we attack that. So anyways, thanks for coming along. The truck is moving along. We're making some progress, and before too long, we'll also start working on Gramps. But it's going to be a very, very hot summer, so time is going to be a little bit limited to what I can do and when I can do it. Luckily, my ceiling got, you know, the ugly but very useful foam insulation on it, so we can get some stuff done out here. But it's hot. It's hot, and I'm going to have to be careful. But like I said, thanks for coming along. If you're interested in this whole project and you want to go back and see it, this truck has already been on the road running and driving and running low 12-second quarter miles, and now we're just improving it for drag and drive stuff. So we've got all kinds of videos on our channel. Go back and check it out. And if you're new, please consider subscribing and hanging out with us and letting us know what you think of all the projects. We do have some other projects here, obviously. And this is, believe it or not it. And we actually have a special video that we're going to be working on. It's going to take a little bit of time that we can't really wait to show you, with some other projects and things of that extent. So, like I said, we'd love to have you along. And we also do Facebook and Instagram. You can check us out at the Racer X Garage. All right, well, I'm going to go cool off. So until next time, you know the deal. Y'all be good.